There are times in life when the path feels so lonely. Not because you've gone the wrong way, but because there's no one beside you anymore. Friends who once walked alongside you now choose to turn away. The once rapturous applause turns to silence. At that point, most people stop, not because they can't keep going, but because they're afraid to walk alone. However, Stoic philosophy teaches a bitter, liberating truth. Life never promises companionship. The only promise is a choice. Whether you stop because of loneliness or force yourself to keep going because of responsibility to your destiny. Stoics don't teach dependence on people. They understand that people change, tire, and can leave at any time. What's in our control isn't who stays, but whether we stay true to the right path. When all else turns away, Stoics see it as a test of the purity of your intentions. Are you walking because you want companionship, or because it's the path you must take? And this is where faith meets wisdom. When no one walks beside you, it doesn't mean you're alone. There's a God who never abandons you, even when the rest of the world turns away. Stoics teach the calm acceptance of circumstances, while faith gives confidence that every step, no matter how small, is under his control. Forcing yourself to keep going is not a meaningless act of violence. It is a form of spiritual discipline. It is an honest acknowledgement that loneliness is permissible, fatigue is permissible, but quitting is not an option. Because quitting means surrendering control of your life to circumstances, something the Stoics opposed. Walking alone trains you to hear voices that have been drowned out by the crowd, the voice of your heart, the voice of reason, and the whispers of faith. On that lonely path, you learn that true strength lies not in the number of people with you, but in the steadfastness of your steps when no one is there to encourage you. If you feel alone today, don't ask where everyone is going. Ask yourself, would I keep going even if only God were my witness? Because often, it is on the loneliest journeys that humans are shaped into the strongest versions of themselves. Part 1. Loneliness is not an enemy, but a test of resilience. Loneliness is often understood as a failure, as if someone walks alone, there is something wrong with them. However, for the Stoics, loneliness is not a curse, it is a natural phase on the human journey to spiritual maturity. Not everyone is destined to accompany you to the end, and it is not something to be fought, but rather to be accepted calmly. The Stoics taught that suffering arises not from circumstances, but from our judgment of them. Loneliness is painful not because it is bad, but because we interpret walking alone as meaning weakness. In fact, it is precisely when there is no one around that a person is forced to rely on oneself, and more deeply, on God. When friends leave, support fades, and cheers disappear, we are faced with life's most honest question. Do I keep going even when no one is watching? This is where resilience is tested. Many people are strong when encouraged, but few are strong when alone. Stoics don't wait for ideal conditions to act. They understand that life isn't subject to human whims. The road will always be rocky, the weather will always change, and people will always come and go. Therefore, the only rational choice is to stand firm amidst uncertainty. In solitude, one learns to distinguish between needs and wants. The desire for company is often stronger than the need to progress. Yet progress doesn't always require crowds. It requires the courage to keep going even when the heart feels empty. This is where faith plays a gentle yet powerful role. When no one hears your complaints, God is always there, not as a distant spectator, but as a witness to every step and intention. Stoics teach acceptance, while faith gives meaning to that acceptance. That every solitude is not accidental but part of the process of formation. Loneliness trains honesty. There are no masks to wear, no image to maintain. All that remains is you, your intentions, and the direction you are taking. If you can survive this phase without giving up, then you are building a foundation that won't easily crumble. Don't rush to seek out crowds just to soothe your loneliness. Sometimes God separates people so you can learn to stand alone. It's not to weaken you, but to strengthen you before you go any further. Loneliness isn't a sign you've been abandoned. It's a sign that you're being prepared. Part 2. Forcing yourself to keep going. In the Stoic view, life is not driven by feelings, but by a trained will. Feelings come and go, strong today, fragile tomorrow. If you wait for your feelings to be ready, your journey will stop repeatedly. Therefore, Stoics don't wait for enthusiasm. They force themselves to keep moving because discipline is more reliable than motivation. Forcing yourself doesn't mean oppressing your soul. It's a form of taking responsibility for your life's direction. A Stoic understands that some things are beyond your control: the judgment of others, the presence of friends, the support of your environment, and some things are completely within your control. The decision to move today. When all externals collapse, this decision is the final straw. Walking without a companion can feel hard, but that's where the true training begins. There's no validation, no reminders, no pats on the back. All that's left is the voice of reason, telling you to keep moving, even if slowly. The Stoics call this self-mastery, the ability to persist in the right course of action even when your inner voice resists. Every time you force yourself to get up when you feel like giving up, every time you keep going even when your heart wants to quit, you are training your inner muscles. This discipline is unseen, unpraised, and often unnoticed by others. Yet it is precisely this strength that endures the longest. Because it depends not on circumstances but on principle, Stoics believe that the highest virtue is not comfort, but rather steadfastness. A good life is not one free from problems, but one that keeps going despite them. In solitude, there are no shortcuts. You are forced to be honest with yourself. Have your steps been driven by faith or simply by the presence of others? At this point, faith softens the harshness of discipline. Forcing yourself to keep going is not driven by the arrogance of "I can do it alone," but by the awareness that God accompanies every endeavor. Stoics teach us to act without depending on the outcome, while faith teaches that every effort is recorded, even when no one is watching. When you walk alone, don't feel sorry for yourself. That will only weaken your will. Accept the situation calmly, then act decisively. One small step today is more meaningful than a grand plan that's constantly postponed because you're waiting for company. Remember, a long journey isn't completed with explosive enthusiasm, but with small, consistent steps. Forcing yourself to keep moving forward is the art of overcoming a lazy self, not a harsh world. And one day when you look back, you'll realize one thing. It's not the crowds that make you strong, but the lonely days when you chose to keep walking. Part 3. When there are no humans, God becomes your only friend. There comes a point in life's journey when all human voices fade away. There's no more advice, no more support, not even questions about your well-being. At this stage, loneliness is felt not only around you but also within you. But for a soul learning to be still, this is the most honest moment, when your relationship with God is tested without human intermediaries. Stoics teach not to depend on external things for peace. Humans are included, because humans can leave, change, or tire. When that dependence crumbles, many lose their way. But for those who understand the essence of life, solitude actually opens up a new space, a space to rely completely on the all-constant. Walking with God doesn't always mean feeling accompanied. Sometimes it feels lonely, desolate, and empty. But faith isn't built on feelings, but on conviction. The Stoics call it acceptance, accepting the situation as it is. Faith completes this with the belief that not a single step escapes his watchful eye. When no one praises you, you learn to do good because it's right. When no one strengthens you, you learn to rise because you believe there's meaning behind the test. This is the loneliest form of worship. To keep going without an audience, without the spotlight, without the guarantee of immediate results. Solitude strips away pretense. There's no longer a role to play, no more image to maintain. You stand as you are, with fear, fatigue, and remaining hope. At this point, God is closest, not because your circumstances are perfect, but because your sincerity is intact. Stoics believe that the universe operates with divine order. Faith teaches that this order lies in God's will. So when the path feels lonely, don't take it as rejection. It could be an invitation to move up, from dependence on humans to complete surrender to Him. Walking with God doesn't mean life becomes easier. In fact, it often becomes lonelier. But that solitude isn't emptiness, but rather a space for maturation. It's where prayers become more honest, steps more careful, and intentions purer. If today you're walking alone, don't be afraid. Many strong people are born not from crowds, but from long encounters with solitude and God. Not everyone is chosen to go through this phase because not everyone can endure loneliness without losing their way. Keep walking. Not because you feel strong, but because you believe as long as God is with you, no path is truly lonely. Part 4. Becoming strong without an audience. Not all strength is born in the presence of many eyes. Some grows in silence when no one sees your struggle. It is in this phase that humans learn the true meaning of strength. To keep going even when no one is watching, no one is praising, and no one is waiting for the results. Stoics believe that a good life does not require recognition. Virtue does not lose its value simply because it is not witnessed. In fact, virtue practiced without an audience possesses a higher purity. When you keep going without anyone noticing, you are proving that your steps are driven by principle, not by the spotlight. In a world that likes to measure value by applause and validation, walking alone can feel like defeat. But in reality, it is an exercise in liberation. You are freed from dependence on human judgment. You no longer ask, "Am I good enough in their eyes?" but, "Am I faithful to the right path?" Becoming strong without an audience means making peace with the long and often unfair process. There are others who seem faster, more crowded, and more appreciated. Stoics teach not to envy results that are not yours. Your job isn't to set the stage, but to guard your own steps. In solitude, your steps may feel slow, but that very slowness makes you more aware. Every step is thought out. Every direction is contemplated. You no longer walk by the current, but with full awareness. This is a strength that is unwavering because it is built with patience, not momentary impulses. Faith gives deeper meaning to this silent power. When no one records your efforts, God is never absent. Every small step, every good intention, every barely noticeable struggle, all are in His reckoning. And this faith is what enables you to endure longer than those who live solely on recognition. One day, perhaps someone will follow and walk beside you. Perhaps not. But when that time comes, you will no longer depend on their presence, because you have learned to walk alone. You have learned to be strong without cheers, steadfast without support, and calm without certainty. Keep walking, even if today is lonely. A lonely path is not a sign that you are lost, but rather a sign that you are being forged. Not everyone has to understand your struggle. Only one person knows: God. And that's more than enough.